so happy to be here at Nommo Fashion Week. I'm really inspired right now to create a new collection. Wow! Because of woman. Show you later.
Auch bin ich im.
Also das ist jetzt die Designerin, da hatte ich gesehen, hast du ja schon.
Ja. Cool, toll. Das ist super toll.
Ja, also die kann auch wirklich alles, ne, als Einzelstücke. Das hat sie zum Beispiel jetzt gerade heute abgeliefert. Das ist so eine Zusammenarbeit und zwar das Lavasteine. Und da habe ich das 18 Karat Gold die Perle gemacht, die dann damit eingearbeitet ist, massiv. Und ja, also kannst du auch gerne mal.
Cool.
Oh, genau, da weiß man, wenn man sich verloren hat.
Okay.
Ja, das ist halt ein Schmuckstück als Tasche. Baridi hat es auch noch nicht gesehen. Unser Spiegel ist hier an der Seite. Aber ich muss schon im Vorfeld sagen, es ist bei jeder Ausstellung. Gestern Abend um 1 Uhr schrieb ich noch die Designer, ich brauche eure Preise, also Künstler. Ja. Ich habe noch keinen Preis dafür, ist sozusagen. Wir wollen verkaufen, genau, aber was lässt sich schnell ausrechnen.
Ich mich gerade überlegt, du gleich mal von Baridi und mir ein Foto machen könntest, was ich dann posten kann. Weißt du, so?
Sehr gerne. Ich rufe mal meine Fotografin.
Ah ja, gut. Kann ich das für Social Media?
Ja.
Wow.
Ja, und das ist
I love denim.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here. This is so special to me. I didn't prepare anything, so it's just a flow. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the amazing team. 4 weeks ago, not even 4 weeks ago, I pitched, we were sitting there and yeah, everyone was like, this is not realistic, but let's do it. And then we just, everything fell together and yeah, so yeah, so that we can be here today to showcase amazing work, amazing artists, and celebrate each other and just show how great our work is, which we have already created. And this was my aim because I just felt like I wanted to have a space where I could have access to great fashion, African fashion, and not only find online or if I'm in Ghana, for example, where I can go shopping and have this exclusive high-end feel, and then come to Berlin and not being able to experience that. I thought it was actually embarrassing for Berlin or Germany not to have that as a regular base.
Next few, I don't know, maybe years, it's going to grow exponentially, and obviously with the help, as usual, it takes a village. So all of you who are here today, if you want to extend the invitation and let your friends and family know that there's beautiful fashion, there's amazing panel talks with the designers present, And we're going to challenge the narrative a little bit and just talk about what is happening, what do we need to do, what needs to change. And yeah, with that, I would like to invite Dark Horse on stage. And whilst they join me on stage, I would like to invite all of you to step at least 10 steps closer. Because what is this? What is this void? Come on. Dark Horse! Woo! Give it up for Dark Horse! Yeah. Yesterday I thought my eyesight is messing with me because I thought I'm seeing double until I realized, oh, we have twins in the house. Is there actually a Ghanaian word for twins? Because I know only a Nigerian word. What's the
Ghanaian? Hello everyone.
We're gonna get to that.
Yeah. The Ghanaian word for twins is Intafo.
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 Yeah.
Please welcome our Dark Horse twins.
Thank you everyone.
Since we're starting with the names, I don't think I have introduced myself properly. My name is Shannon, and it is my absolute pleasure to have you both on stage. And your name is?
My name is Robert Ajay Darko once again. And I'm Darko Herbert Ajay.
We're very pleased to have you here. And obviously we want to know, you have a brand called Dark Horse that we also have displayed.
Yes.
Yes, and obviously we want to talk about what's it like to have an African sourced and African made brand in this day and age. And let's get right into it. We want to talk about how do the limitations and challenges, for example, in sourcing fabric and sourcing material inspire the both of you to create?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for showing up, and we also appreciate this opportunity to express our brand.
The question is, how do limitations and challenges in sourcing inspire the both of you to create, regardless?
We face some challenges like finding resources. So limited resources is kind of a challenge. So it pushes us to find new solutions to bring our idea to life. So like finding local materials and, you know, pushing us because there's I would say, for example, if we have a design that we want to make and we go sourcing fabrics and we do the sample and we are ready for it to produce, we go and then there's no fabric we chose from when we're sourcing or when we're trying to stock. So that's also a challenge. It pushes us to go out of our ideas and find new ways to create. Yeah.
So how do you then make it happen? Let's say you found a fabric, you really like it, you love it, you finish the sample, and then you go back because you're ready to produce further. What do you do then?
Yeah, so that's for like a plan B. You have to always have a plan B when designing. You ask yourself, what if I go and I don't find the exact fabric I went the other day? So you always have to have a plan B. Yeah, that's how we source out.
So that means from the get-go, you always start with a plan B in your head. So if plan A doesn't work,
because there are always limited resources. So we ended up creating another new, unique style.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you mainly do capsule collections, or how would you describe that? That you only have limited sizes, limited.
So yeah, we're making all sizes, but normally we only make it for the normal sizes. And if you want to purchase in a big size, you just send us a DM and then we make it an actual size to make it fit. So like for pre-order.
So made to order, custom order, that kind of.
Yes.
And what would you say is maybe an untapped strength about producing on the African continent at the moment?
I would say rich craftsmanship.
That's for sure. You have to stay creative, I guess.
Natural resources also. Yeah.
That for sure as well. And generally, how do you describe your brand? If someone asks you and you tell them we're fashion designers, how would you describe your brand?
Yes, so Darkos was derived from our surname, Darko, and we are twins, that's why I made it Darkos. And it simply means gift. In our local dialect, we say Achedie, which is in chi, sorry. And Darkos is not just a brand, it's a celebration of masculinity and femininity. So we wanted to create something that embrace or find comfort in these traits. Darkos, because it's a gift, we want to offer a gift to the community, and that's our aim.
That's nice. And I am very happy to introduce to you Chukuma. Please give it up for Chukuma. Chukuma, for the people who have not come across you, we have this situation on the speaker, which I don't know if we can get rid of that. The aliens are listening. We want to know about you. Who's Chukuma today?
My name is Chukuma Ikwerike. From Nigeria. I'm an artist.
Do we have any Nigerians in the house?
By heart.
That's very mellow for Nigerians. Okay.
So I'm an artist.
What's your art?
Based between Lagos and Manchester. Multidisciplinary artist actually. So, and then I creatively direct my fashion art brand, Woman. Woman is spelled W-U-M-A-N. So basically, Woman is a juxtaposition of fashion, art, and literature. I usually don't see myself as a designer, partly because I feel like I'm an artist. My work actually unifies garments, visual arts, and storytelling in the sense that I see clothes and textiles as canvases to imprint like stories on, so that's what my brand is about.
When did you start with Woman?
Woman started 2013, I think formally, but sometime around 2011 I was already nursing the idea that I was going to create my brand.
And if you describe what Woman is maybe today versus how when you started, how would you describe it?
I don't think anything has changed, to be honest. So it's, yes, I've obviously, in the course of doing art, you have to evolve, but at the core, it's been the same thing, so the vision 10 years ago is still the same vision now. I don't think I've changed much. Maybe I have, because of experience, I now see things in a better or like clearly or with clarity. But the vision has always been the same, it hasn't changed.
What is the vision?
So the vision is, well, for me, art is, I don't create art just because I can create art. There's a sense of purpose to what I do. So I'm usually motivated by a deep essence that has followed me since I was born, I think. So for everything I'm creating, there's a greater sense of purpose. Yes, I'm trying to tell stories, but those stories have impact. Sometimes I don't know where the impact is to go or who that impact is for. But I just create and let the work sort of spread to where it needs to spread, so, and sometimes these stories it could be a story about that is deeply emotional to you who is seeing it. It could be speaking to you specifically, like one person specifically, but I think in general, that's my drive. Yeah, so positive change. I have like 5 cores, which is heritage, tradition, storytelling, timelessness, because I feel like you can't box my work like in terms of season or in terms of like maybe a category, or at any time you see it, the essence is the same, you know. And then positive impact, meaningfulness, you know. So because I feel like honestly life can be a bit meaningless somehow. So but my work takes me first, you know, but takes you through understanding how you can craft meaning from meaninglessness.
That sounds very, yeah. Give it up for this rather philosophical approach. And I'm always curious if you're okay to share. Would you say you've been moving in an environment that has been very supportive of your philosophical and artistic journey? And if yes, how so? And if no, how so?
Please, can you be specific? What environment?
So I feel that these days it almost like you need to be a very strong person to leave that space for yourself to remain as philosophical, as creative as you are, for example. Because society, maybe whatever dynamics you move in, are not very encouraging of creative spirits, philosophical spirits.
So I would say in my own understanding is, for me, like I said, art is destiny for me, let me be honest. You know, so in the course of doing it and creating it, trying to, you know, express my imagination, go back in time sometimes, you know, sort of nurture the spirit of the time. You know, I'm just led to do what I need to do. I don't care so much about what society thinks or what time it is. You know, I try not to pay attention to that, because if you do, it sort of shapes how you interpret or express your art. You know, which at the end of the day, if you fall for that, it kills the essence of what you're supposed to do. You know, so I just create. You know, when I wake up, see a piece of paper, or if I see someone wearing white shoes, I feel like, oh, maybe I can write something on it or draw something. You know, so for me, it's at the core that simplicity, or I kind of call it naivety, where you just want to express what's inside. You know, and at that very moment, nothing matters. I don't want to know like, oh, am I here or where am I? Like, I usually, when I'm in that space, I don't know where, like, my mind is not conscious of, oh, I'm in this place.
Right.
You know, so.
In a flow kind of state.
So if I can be that almost all the time, I don't think I have the time to care so much about how society should think of my work. So in the sense, I'm not, yes, it's real that there are influences, or there can be influences from society, and there can be inhibitions or limitations, but I don't think that's my problem, especially at this stage.
I love that attitude very much. Yes. Now, to maybe a less philosophical aspect of our conversation, I would be very curious to know from your perspective, because sometimes when the general non-continental audience thinks about anything made in Africa, right? There's a sense of, oh, it's exoticized or fetishized. And I would like to know if you feel that local production has also been romanticized?
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's always this talk about Africa now, Africa the future. You know, like honestly, sometimes it can be exhausting. You know.
I see a few nods in the crowd.
I feel like let them allow us to just be Africans and create. We love creating. We have something to show, you know. And the moment you start to always say, "Oh, Africa is the future," and these talks have gone for so long. I don't even know whether we are in the future or.
Is this fun, right?
I'm like
past, present, and future.
We have an essence. We have something to offer the world. Everyone knows Africa has something to offer the world. I don't want to be biased and say Africa is special, but Africa is special. You know, so we just want to share that with the world. And my own will I say dream or my desire would be for the world to, just the same way you would see art from Asia, that's the same way, like when you see an African art, enjoy it, you know, don't consume it from a sense of maybe pity or tokenism, or you're trying to tolerate, you know, or, you know, there are so many languages I hear, I don't want to say some of them, you know, but just be genuine, you know. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you want to own one, collect, whatever, you know. I feel like that's what we should do, you know, just the same way it should go to every other part of the world, you know, so yeah.
And what would you say is maybe like a grittier side to producing on the continent that maybe not enough people dare to talk about?
Sorry, please repeat.
Yeah, are there aspects of production where you feel, actually, this is something no one is talking about and it's really challenging? Is there anything?
I think for sure Africa has we've got structural challenges when it comes to manufacturing, excuse me. You know, these things have been there for some time. You know, and I feel like it can be solved, and it's already, I particularly got to a point in my career where I got so tired of complaining and saying, oh, I can't do this, no enough power supply, no money, you know, all the technical issues and the inadequacies that you can experience being on the continent. And I said, if we keep complaining, there's never going to be a solution. In fact, I was on a program where we had like 2 months of back and forth trying to decipher the issues designers face, and it was around the same thing: manufacturing, funding. And I asked the stakeholders or people involved, I said, we've had to discuss this too many times. What's the way forward? How can we solve that problem? And for me, in solving it is, first we have to understand as Africans that we have to solve it ourselves. Nobody is coming to save anyone, you know. So I took it upon myself and said, I have to start with myself. If I must say, oh, there's a solution, it has to be me who has to implement it first. And so I started doing productions across Africa, which is not easy, you know, but honestly, it's been very fulfilling for me. And when someone approaches me and says, oh, maybe you can do this in Turkey, or you can produce, I am not very comfortable, you know. I am not very comfortable because I feel like that money can remain in the continent, except in some cases there might be reasons to do certain things outside. Obviously, there are certain limits that are real, you know, but generally, I would prefer to keep production in Africa. And for me, the solutions can as pretty simple: training, you know, sometimes in even trying a process out, make the mistake, learn from that mistake, and keep trying, and you correct it. That's how it has worked for me, you know. And then building partnerships, collaborating with artisans across the continent, linking up. Funny enough, I've worked with so many people over WhatsApp. I haven't met them in person, you know. And there's so many things you can do in Africa that people don't know. Honestly, like I have colleagues who they tell me, oh, this thing can't be done, and I'm like, no, there's somewhere.
You watch.
There's somewhere you can do it. You know, you just need to act. You need to go beyond your living room or comfort zone.
Absolutely. And I know it's a very obvious question to ask. At the same time, there's always somebody in the room who maybe still appreciates the question. Why do you think is it so crucial and important to keep the production on the continent and not outsource?
It's pretty simple. When you take production out of the continent, you're taking money out of the continent. You're depriving your people of money.
Yes.
You're empowering another community that may not necessarily need that. Because you have already a need, and that's when we start to have the issues of foreign exchange, high, low GDP, and all the economic inadequacies. So I think there's nothing to think about as an African. If you have something to do and it can be done back home, why not do it at home?
So maybe another obvious one, and I hope you're comfortable sharing, for those who might be interested to do something similar like you are doing on the continent even. How do you deal with the unevenness of resources, access to finance? How do you deal with that in comparison to, let's say, the non-continental space?
Well, I think these issues are very real, and they're not even peculiar to just Africa. I have, in the course of traveling and my work, I've met designers from other regions, and funny, they have the same challenges, So funding is a general issue everywhere. Though yes, in Africa it's a bit difficult, slightly, because fashion is not seen as that business where you invest yet.
So how did you do it then, if it's not?
So I won't say I created any magic formula to solving it. Just that for me, my philosophy is, if you really want to get it done, you get it done. And if you can't get it done, maybe you get it done later, or you leave it. So I work with what I have. I'm a believer in the excess of little. So you could have just one tiny thing and you amplify that small money and do a lot of you can have maximum effect with that money. So I'm just tired of honestly complaining, oh, no money, because if you complain, no one is going to change that necessarily. You just have to keep pushing, reaching out to platforms you feel may be able to fund your work. It's not easy in reality, honestly. And I'm not trying to motivate anybody. So yeah, it's not, because if I tell you it's
Give us
easy,
the real talk, come on. We want to know. We want to know the real deal.
The reality is that you have to go out there and push for what you want to do. It may take time, but it will be done if you push just enough.
You mentioned tradition and heritage, that those are one of the values that you would describe also your brand with. And how do you feel that designers can also protect traditional techniques while scaling production?
Do you mean in terms of intellectual property?
That, but also techniques that maybe are created or have been created and come from the continent, but are maybe then either appropriated or copied otherwise. How do you think that tradition can also work alongside trying to scale a business?
Well, I think let me start by saying or responding about intellectual property. Generally, there's an issue with that on the continent. Most of the techniques, they are pretty open. If you want to know about them, you can access them. There hasn't been enough emphasis on, because I feel like Africa has got an ownership problem.
How so?
In the sense that we have so much we don't try to own, and there are two sides to it. Africans are very open-minded, loving people, so they tend to just do things and say, oh, everyone is free to engage. And for some reason it's not the same in every other part of the world, to be honest.
Not at all.
And do you feel that this should be changed or evolved?
Well,
what are your thoughts on that?
I think we won't lose our real nature, which is the openness. However, logically, we have to do what we have to do to protect our work, and I feel like some of us are trying to do it, but it has to be done collectively. It's something our governments need to look at, but for some reason too, it depends on the government and it depends on their focus. Not every government is interested in even creativity, as real as it sounds. So we, the artists or creatives, dancers, whichever art form you find yourself, you have to make the extra move to protect it. And there's something, you tend to want to protect something when you see the value in that thing. So most of the time when you see that someone is not protecting what they own, it's because they don't see enough value in it. So I feel like, first of all, the consciousness of ownership has to be embedded in young Africans to understand what they own. Because trust me, I wake up some mornings and I'm like, Africa has everything. We don't have to leave our continent, to be very honest, like for some of the things we do, but notwithstanding, it's important to also have these exchanges, travel, share your work with every other person. However, like I said, there has to be real solutions, collective actions. The government has to be involved, platforms have to be involved, and it has to be done by it's an action thing. I've heard too many people speak about it. There's always talk masterclass on IP, this, that, but it's very few. I've almost not even seen anybody step out to say, we've created a board to actually protect the works of creatives. I haven't seen. If there's anyone, maybe anyone can share with me later. So that's the way forward for me.
Now, one thing I'd also would like to know from you, what is your stance on sustainability? Not just environmentally, but also, maybe let's start with that. What's your stance on that?
So, well, obviously we have to live sustainably. In my book,
You wrote a book?
Yeah, I have 2 books actually. So
tell us about your book then.
So in my second book, which is titled Lines, Yarns and Words of Life, I wrote about sustainability, and not just with regards to fashion, but with regards to your life in general. Okay. So, and I really don't like to dwell on the word, funny enough, because I feel like it's overused.
Sustainability?
Yeah, it's
okay.
overused.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a different word in your mind that sounds more?
I don't have a different word. Maybe I'll create one later.
Okay. Like today or like
maybe.
We are working on it already.
Let's brainstorm together.
But for now, I don't have one. Maybe if inspiration comes, I will. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's a lot of talk around it, and when you really dissect it to see if people are actually following it, it's almost very minimal in terms of real action. And I'm a believer in doing. I don't like too much talk. Do you understand? So yes, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, sustainability, true. But for me, it's the point we have to embrace now. My one thing I dealt over the past few years, especially since COVID, there's something I wrote down, which is in my book as well. I said we must design a better world, and then the only way we can do that is to actually live sustainably. We have to redesign the entire way we see things, production, how we consume. And there's something I would say: just because you can create something or produce something doesn't mean you have to. So sometimes when you think in that direction, you tend to want to control what you create, so you don't have excess. There's so much consumerism going on in the world, every day buying it. People are buying too many things, and sometimes they buy an outfit, they wear it only twice, and it's off. So for me, sustainability has to be taught at the root to the young generation. I like to aim at the young generation because I feel like they are the ones who can understand from their innocence what it takes or it will take to create a better world. You know, so sustainability is something we all have to embrace, and we have to start doing it, not just saying it.
What's the other book? Now I'm curious.
So the first book is actually titled Africa. You know, so it's a play on words. I was writing about Africa, but using the female form to write. You know, so that's my first book. And typically, it explains my process, my thoughts, my philosophy, some of the compositions I create, like the garments, the textiles. You know, the significance of the motifs. My work is very symbolic and semiotic. So you could see red, and red it means something else. Red can be innocence for me, and white can be danger. Like, so the thing is, everything is like a sort of code. So you have to know what's behind it, and that's why I write. So when people buy the garment, you're not unaware of what you're wearing, you know. And when you know what is behind the textile or the garment, I feel like it enables you to embody that garment fully. Yes.
I would like to maybe give the audience also a chance. Obviously, I would have a ton more questions because you touched on so many extremely interesting things. I like that you look at the creativity aspect from a more holistic approach. That it's not just fashion, it's not just a lifestyle, but really a way of being and a way of living. So, what questions maybe are there at the moment from the audience?
So hi everybody. So you talked a lot about what it means to wear a garment and to embody it, and I was actually wondering what you feel when you wear your own garments, or what you want people to feel. I think it's really important, especially given how the creative process for you is just so special and sentimental. Do you want people to feel something specific when they wear your garments? And is there something that you want to evoke when it comes to the feelings?
Okay, so
Great question, thank you.
I wrote in response to that, thank you first for the question. So in response to that, in my first book, I wrote an essay titled "The Garment is a Home." So first of all, when you wear my garment, I want you to feel a sense of homeliness, like you're in a house, you know, and you need to be comfortable in that house. And then there's also an aspect which is sort of psychological, which certain people have written about. It's called encoded cognition. So it's the relationship your cognitive your brain builds with the garment, the materiality, you know, the color, the emotion behind it. So all that has a way of translating. There's a connection you have to have with the garment, you know, and whatever comes out of that, I always hope is blissful and joyful, you know. But I want people to feel something deep, a sense of belonging, you know, true connection to what they are wearing, and it should be able to empower them, make them feel better about themselves, teach them something they need to know, you know, and enable them have confidence, you know, in how they want to express themselves. So in terms of the message, I create there's an approach to my work, whether it's painting or in design. I create and I have something I'm seeing, which might not be what the audience or the consumer would see or the collector would see, you know, and I try not to impose my own views. So whatever you see, whatever the garment speaks to you, or the textile or painting speaks to you, that's what it truly is to you. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who came, and I hope the art inspires you some way or speaks to you. Yeah, thank you, Stella. Thank you very much.